This guitar has been a self-inflicted commission from a very unreasonable client. Me. I chose to build it down here in the basement, away from some of my better tools, better habits, and unfortunately, my spray setup. Which meant the finish had to be wipe-on. And wipe-on sounded simple, right until the finish got a head start on collecting dust. From the right angle, this looks finished. That's mostly because cameras are easy to lie to. But change the angle, rake some light across it, and the illusion completely falls apart. So now I have to sand the finish I just spent days applying, which feels a bit like watching your computer crash right before you hit save. All that's left is knowing exactly how long it took, and doing it again. So it's been a couple days. Long enough for the grain fill to stay in the grain. So we're ready for finishing, right? Well, no. The epoxy filled the grain like I wanted, but it also left behind some texture, some high spots, and some assorted junk that I really didn't ask for. So, like always, the first thing is going to be sanding. I'm starting with 600 grit here. Excuse me, P600 grit. Mostly trying to knock back the surface to something flat enough that the finish isn't just preserving my previous mistakes in higher gloss. And while 600 grit is gentle, it's cutting at the speed of a glacier. So I switched over to the orbital sander and let some electricity get in on the party. Very carefully. The orbital sander is useful, but it has the usual orbital sander problem, which is that guitars have corners and round discs do not. It's basically being told to stand in the corner of a round room. And it looks like I might have sanded through the epoxy just a little bit. Option 1, go back and apply some more epoxy and wait. Option B, press forward like this never happened and hope the finish doesn't reveal my secrets later. Sorry about that, SG. But in my defense, you needed a bath. I have no idea what I was trying to point out here. What are you pointing at? No, really. What are you pointing at? You could have been more helpful. Anyway, this, however, I do know what to do with. Burn marks are famously easy to remove and have never once gotten further into the project than they should. So instead of trying to sand this out, I am going to execute a cover-up. But like any good cover-up, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I'm up to. You're just going to have to find out for yourself. I will, however, show you that it involves glue. No, not that glue. This is water-based gilding adhesive. And if the foil seal didn't give me away, this is the first time I've ever used this stuff. What I can tell you is it's very thin and leaves behind this actually kind of nice neon blue color. Now, gilding adhesive means leaf, metal leaf. At which point you might think he's going with gold leaf. No, gold leaf is far too obvious. I'm going with something that can simultaneously exude elegance and a little air of the plumbing aisle. I'm going with copper leaf. I'll just shut up now for just a moment. you know what? Some might wonder, am I going to burnish this back? No, I'm going to leave it nice like this with the texture. No, 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 no. Get out of here with that. While SG does QC, let's talk finish. Future Ian here. Same project, different dust. I realize there's one obvious question I have not actually answered, because nobody asked it yet. Why not just use a spray finish? Simple, really. I have gas. Natural gas. Important distinction. And I do not particularly want to find out whether my house is capable of rapid, unscheduled disassembly. So, spray finishes are out. Also, even when they're not trying to turn the shop into a cautionary tale, spray finishes have overspray. And overspray gets everywhere. So, for this guitar, wipe-on finish it is. No, not that kind of wipe. Which answers the method. It does not answer which finish. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I turned a clean bench into a tiny finish tournament. So with the samples submitted, it's time for the elimination round. A's okay. B, no, you're out of here. C gets a pass. D, that's Danish. It's also a dud. E gets a pass. F, well, it's in the grade letter. And the linseed oil did horrible things to this poor walnut. These are unspeakable crimes. And A is out on a technicality. So Tru-Oil and my custom blend advance to the final round. More on that later. Much later. Which means if you're only here for the recipe, you're now trapped in a guitar video. Sorry about that. Before any of that can go on the guitar, I still need to finish the copper bevel, figure out how to hold this thing, and clean up the bench enough I don't end up with textured clear coat. One more thing before finish. I need a way to hold this. There are better ways to do this. I do not currently have one of those better ways. So this is the way. A hook in the end pin jack area should at least give me one end of the problem. And with that, we're finally ready to start applying finish, right? Well, no. Dust, tape, copper leaf, sanding grit, random bench sediment, and maybe even a few toy goat droppings. All of that is just future texture waiting for a ride. And texture is great when it's wanted. Less when it's mystery garbage embedded under gloss. I'm even going far enough. I'm cleaning the floor. Yes, the floor. I do not make set necks often, and the ones I have made before were lacquer sprayed, which meant I could string them up and spray them down. For this, I have 2 bench cookies, their little stands, and the hook at the end pin. Because the fretboard is masked off, I can rest the guitar on the fretboard without immediately ruining my week and my finish. At least that is the theory. And in finishing, theory is what you have right before the dust settles. So let's get the first coat down. And I went with my custom blend. Unfortunately, no, it's still not late enough for me to tell you about that. This is where it starts looking like a finished instrument. And yes, I know I am showing you the back first. I did actually start with the top, but I had to keep you waiting. Come on, it is the big reveal. Since this is the first coat, I am wiping it back. Partly because that was the plan, mostly because I didn't like how it was sitting on the surface. If you really want a nice satin presentation, this is basically the move. Apply the finish, give it a little time, and then wipe it back. And honestly, satin looks good. Which is annoying, because satin is the version of this project that would let me stop earlier and pretend I was being tasteful. But I told myself I was going to push this one further. So I am not wiping every coat back to safety. At some point, I need the finish to build. Or at least I want to find out whether Gloss and I are still on speaking terms by the end of this. Maybe I will keep the back satin, though. I don't know. The back is making a pretty good argument. After days of applying coats, this is where I landed. It has depth now, and it has shine. From some angles, it looks really good. From others, the surface is telling a very, very different story. And then there's the plastic bag. A smooth surface can still hide grit from your hand. The plastic bag makes every nib feel worse. And this? Ugh. Don't mind me while I beat a dead finish. Yeah, every single one of those dots is a problem in the finish. So it looks like I've got 99 problems. Maybe more. Anyways, I'm going to have to strip this back, which means it's time for the power sander again. There's no reason to go 90 miles an hour here, so turn the dial down. That doesn't mean I've escaped hand sanding, though. We've been over this before. Corners and all that. And not even the copper leaf survived. Which is disappointing. Trying to sand out the nibs, instead sanded through some of the metal. So the only real fix is to take it off and do it again. And honestly, I think it went better the second time. Which I would hope. Second try and all that. All that copper made me want to add one more detail. This might be an excellent little extra, or it might be the exact moment restraint left the room. We'll find out together. Okay, I guess now it's finally time for the finish recipe. Wait a second. Did you skip here? I'm so disappointed in you. So my not so top secret recipe is, well, it's an attempt to recreate Tru-Oil. Now, I'm not the first to have done this. There are published recipes out there for Tru-Oil, and I tried some of them. Not a one of them was right. They were all too thin, too oily. I even did a little viscosity test and found out that Tru-Oil is actually quite thick. So I went back and dug up the material safety sheet for Tru-Oil to get a better idea of what it's made of. And that gave me these numbers. Compared to the recipe most commonly cited, a 1:1:1 recipe, things don't seem that far off initially, until you take a look at the actual contents of a can of poly. Once you take that into account, the most often cited recipe is not even close. So I made my own version. 6 parts poly, 2 parts thinner, 1 part oil. In this case, tongue oil. Oil of tongue? No. In practical bench terms, that is 2 tablespoons of poly, 1 tablespoon of tongue oil, 2 teaspoons of naphtha, and a small shot of Japan dryer. Basically, add Japan dryer to taste. No, do not taste any of this. That feels important to clarify. One more correction here. Paper towels are out. They leave behind fuzz. Cheesecloth is in. I'm gonna make up a little pad like the core of a French polishing rubber. I'm not claiming this is the one true applicator. I am claiming the last one was leaving evidence, and I would like to leave less evidence. This is still going to take multiple coats. A lot of multiple coats. But I won't make you sit through all of those. You've suffered through enough, and quite frankly, so have I. What I can say is this new method is showing a lot of promise. Whether that's me jinxing myself or foreshadowing, well, we'll have to wait and see. But until then, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.